you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Good morning, and welcome to the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. The show is also called the CRCS, Counter-Racist Code Show, and we thank you for tuning in and listening to today's programming. Yes, we thank you. Now, to get in contact with the show, all you have to do is call 516-453-9921, press the number 1 button, and you will get in line, as several of you have already done. Good. Don't forget, when you do that, give the call screener your name so that they can type it in and I can hopefully pronounce it properly. I will give my very best effort to do that. Now, if you are a new caller to the show, and that we have new people who listen in all the time, for you, if you tell the call screener that you are a new caller, we have a special program set up just for you where you will be heard. So make sure you tell the call screener that. They will alert me, and then I will call on you, and you could ask your question. You don't have to be scared. Don't be long, though, okay? Please, don't be long. Please, ma'am, please, sir. Just state it, and so that Mr. Fuller can understand whatever it is that you are stating or questioning. Or if you just want to give a short statement, you can do that also. You can do that. Okay, that's good. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com. And I will get that, and it may not be read today. However, it will be read at a time, I don't know when. I will let you know, I will alert you that your Gmail has been read, give you the date and time, and then you can listen to it and go from there. And lastly, you can join the, you can get into the chat room. And all you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com. When you do that, then you go to programs and hit programs, and then the Produce Justice show will come up. You hit that. And then once you hit that, then the chat room becomes available for you, and you can get in there and get into the chat room. And sometimes whatever the chatters are speaking about, I will make mention of it. But I will say this, please, ma'am, please, sir, do not ask me a question in the chat room to ask Mr. Fuller. That is what the regular telephone number is. So you use that, but don't use the chat room for that. But occasionally I will lift a topic that is going on in the chat room. So please, ma'am, please, sir, don't do that, and then we can have a good show. Yes. All righty, we can do that. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Darnell, and, of course, John from Houston. Thank you for having your names up there. Okay, I believe that is all I have to do. Oh, I will say this. Bear in mind with me today, please, ma'am, please, sir, if you've ever got a new phone, you know when you transfer your information over, things happen. Well, yours truly is in that situation now, so I will do my best to make sure that things run as smoothly as possible, but bear with me. And, of course, the usual suspects are at play again this morning. I'm not even going to tell you what has happened to me today so far, but that is to be expected in producing justice. But it's all right. That's just par for the course. Okay, without further ado, let me introduce to some, and I'm going to say produce. 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 I'm going to Let me just say this. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, sir.
And how are you this morning, Mr. Fuller?
Still learning.
You are still learning. Okay. Okay, Mr. Fuller, today being the 1st of November 2022, what is on the mind or the thought that you would like to express to us this morning before we get the show cranking?
Well, specifically, I'm thinking about all of the holidays that are right here on us now. Halloween was yesterday, I think. And according to logic, according to the code, according to what is supposed to be correct thinking, you will analyze that and see if that's a waste of time or if that's something that is something constructive. And I've come to the conclusion that it's not only a waste of time, it's sending an incorrect message because it's about death worship. So that's just a thought that people can think of, even though they may have participated, had some type of Halloween parties, mostly for very, very young people. But it's sending the incorrect message. It's all about worshiping death. It's about killing skeletons and scaring people. People are afraid of so many things already. So some people say that, well, it serves a purpose in that it prepares young people's minds for the type of fearsome world, the type of world where so many scary things happen every day, particularly to black people. So it's getting black people in a frame of mind at a very young age where they can handle the scary things. But for black people everywhere in the world, you already have Halloween. Halloween is every day. The scary things happening to black people every day, all over the world, in the system of racism. So you don't have to manufacture any fright or anything to be concerned about, worries, looking over your shoulder. You don't have to teach black people that through something that you're making fun of in a fun way, and that would be Halloween. So it's just a thought that people take into consideration. And everything associated with Halloween seems to be emphasizing the dread of darkness. What are the colors of Halloween? Basically, orange and black, with an emphasis on the black. And I don't know what the orange is supposed to be representative of. Maybe it's because it's the fall season. That could be it. Or the color orange. But the blackness is about associated in languages with darkness, and the darkness is associated with everything evil. So you're saying that people who have color in their skin that is dark are evil. So they're what you call, and listen to this term, the boogeyman. And some years ago, they had a dance called the boogie, associated with black people. See, in the system of white supremacy, everything is associated to make darkness and people who have color in their skin just something terrible, something that is completely unwanted, something that is thoroughly disruptive and useless and tyrannical, and something to fear, and something that you just, what is it? Should it exist? Here comes that creature walking down the sidewalk. Has black skin. Now, it's in the form of a person, but is that really a person? Or is that something you run from or shoot? What is that thing? That is what you get in the system of white supremacy. And a holiday, holy day, Halloween, is supposed to send that kind of message, directly and indirectly. A witch on a broomstick, wearing black. Just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, what should black people be doing? That's what the question comes down to. Trying to get rid of that type of thinking. That's the assignment. Anything that is glorifying something destructive. If you're a person of color, anywhere on planet Earth or anywhere in the universe, you're supposed to be making things the way that they ought to be. What things? All things. Examine everything that you see around you going on every day and say, should this be in existence or not? And if it is in existence, does it produce a constructive effect or non-constructive effect in the minds of people, all people, regardless of who those people might be or whom those people might be. This event that's going on, these things you see people doing, the buses coming and going, tour buses, say. Why are they making a tour? Because they're learning something or having an experience that they haven't had before. That's what people ride tour buses for. If you ask them, why are you on this bus? And what kind of bus is this? And where is it going? And you say, well, I'm on this bus because it's a tour bus. And it's going on a tour. Well, what's a tour? Well, so we can learn things and have experiences that I haven't had before, or if I had it before, I want to have it again. Well, what kind of experiences? Or what is it that you're going to learn? I'm going to learn something, and there's only two ways you can go. You're going to learn something that's going to help you to think constructively, or you're going to help, it's going to help you to think non-constructively. There's no such thing as in between. Everything that you see around you is going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. Guns on a display in a window in a gun shop. You look at those guns. What are those guns designed to do? Have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect? Well, you might look at a long gun, they call them, and you say, if somebody fires that gun, is it going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect? Depends on what the target is and what the circumstances are. So these are things people should think about all day long, particularly black people, rather than just spend most of their time watching each other and looking forward to watching each other and being around each other. And when we get around each other, having no idea of what to do that's going to have a constructive effect. So we should think about why we were born and why we're on the planet Earth. Because according to what we do on this program, or what I've written the books about, it's supposed to be finding out the most constructive thing to do with the time that you've been given by whatever made you, and then do your best to do it, because it's all a gift. The most constructive thing on your mind all day, because sometimes we just walk around not thinking about much of nothing, but your mind is always picking up something. So always think in terms of constructive, non-constructive. That keeps it real simple. And get involved in all of those things that are of constructive value. And get away from and push it away from you anything that shows signs of being non-constructive.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you very, very much. Okay, 9:16 in the a.m. in this part of North America. Yeah, North America. Anyway, let's do this. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's say good morning to John in Houston. Get ready, John. See if I can click you in, hopefully. Yes. Okay, there you are, John. Good morning.
Grand risings, gentlemen, and to you, Mr. Bobby, and to Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I guess I would be more than belated wishing him well for his birthday. Question in the wake of Kanye West. And before I ask that specific question, because it's quite disturbing in the responses, both from the white supremacists and the victims of white supremacy. Now, our elder has already said that there are only three designations in the white supremacist government or religion. It is white people, non-white people, and white supremacists. So I'd like to ask in this Jewish controversy, what's his understanding of either Goy, because there are some people who refer to the governments as Goy, or what he understands the actual term Goyim to mean, and how it covers up for much the evil behavior, the predatory business practices that Kanye West, Ye, is trying to identify, why people ignore him, dismiss him, and marginalize him as being off his meds. So do you know, either of you, what Goyim means and why it's not expressed and understood by people who don't seem to understand that they are victims of a policy based on being considered Goyim? And I'd like to hold, Mr. Bobby, and thank you for the time this morning.
You got it. Okay. All right, John, let me see if I can get you on the hold there. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Fuller.
I have heard these terms, and there seems to be a lot of confusion handed down through the generations about these terms that are being used in Mr. Ye's case. They keep coming up. So the code, what I wrote about that, first thing you want to determine is that what this whole matter is in any way associated with a word called religion. This whole controversy, now think of it that way. This is what the code says, so that nobody can get lost and you don't add to the confusion. Because there seems to be a lot of confusion, a lot of animosity, a lot of people getting, back and forth. I mean, some anger involved, some people taking losses of time and energy and money, and it shouldn't exist. That's what codification is for, eliminating that type of stuff with one chop. Just one karate chop. Just eliminating it, eliminating the whole argument. Just with one move rather than day after day, week after week, month after month. That's what code is for, eliminating any kind of controversy real quick. I mean, slam dunks, if you use a basketball term. Not dribbling all over the court and falling all over each other and people punching each other out and all this kind of stuff. Just try to find out where is the nerve center of whatever it is you're talking about. And I can understand, because this thing has brought up a whole lot of questions,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these questions and a lot of these terms keep resurfacing down through the years. And you have chaos every time it happens. And you have anger. And you have confusion. And confusion doesn't do anything but usually cause more confusion unless you get to the nerve center of whatever it is you're talking about. So I've heard these terms. So the code, I decided some years ago to just go one way and wrap it up in about 3 or 4 minutes. Every time it comes up, every time, anywhere in the world, we need a code for that. So this is what I went with, and it's in the textbook for victims of white supremacy that you can get by going to producejustice.com. First order of business is, if it seems to be associated with religion, and that's an alarm bell right there, because, I mean, you're going to get controversy when you start talking about any kind of religion. I don't care what kind of religion it is. So you look at it, and that's the question that you ask, because all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. So you say, is this associated with a religious matter? That's the first question. And you can, this is code now, so you can use this anywhere. First thing you want to know, if it seems like it's associated with a religion, any kind of religion, you ask that and get that straight first. Is this associated with a religion? Any kind of religion. And if the answer is yes, then you have 3 other questions, and it's over. And here are those questions. What is the name of the religion in this matter? What's the name of the religion? Most religions have names. If it's associated with a religion, all you want, either directly or indirectly, you want to know the name of the religion. This is it. And this is something important to remember. Just 3 things. A karate chop. What is the name of the religion if it's, once you find out that it's associated directly or indirectly, some kind of way, with any kind of religion? Because the word Jew has been mentioned, all right? And so you say, is that associated with a religion? Yes or no? And if somebody says yes, say, oh, that's a slam dunk. All right, what is the name of the religion? They say, well, Judaism. Using this as an example, because I understand that the yay thing is associated some kind of way with controversy about something that's associated with the religion of Judaism. So you get that straight first. Not Hinduism, not Buddhism, not Christianity. These are the names of various religions. Some of the major ones. There are millions of religions. And sometimes just a couple of people have made up a religion that goes just involve just the 2 of them. But let me continue. Or you say, oh, now we're talking. Now we're getting somewhere. So what do you say about any religion, regardless of what it is? You ask questions. You don't make statements. Stay away from statements. That's deadly. When you start making statements about Christianity, Buddhism, anything associated with religion, you're in dangerous territory unless you are a member of the religion that you're talking about. Remember that. If you're not a member of the religion that you're talking about, you just have questions. You suddenly go blank, and you have nothing but questions, and you don't have but 3. What is the name of the religion? And then whomever you're talking to about the religion, you say, what's the name of the religion that you are talking about? If the person has identified him or herself with that religion. And listen for the person to tell you the answer to that question, the name of the religion. Next question, number 2. What does your religion, sir or ma'am, require you to do in 9 areas of activity? Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, other people's religion, sex, and war. Now, it covers just about everything that a person will be doing in their so-called lifetime. And it's a daily thing or interactive thing, but those 9 areas of activity that a person is usually involved in, directly or indirectly. You want to find out what the religion of that person that you're talking to, after you get the name of the religion, what does it require them to do in each one of those areas of activity? See, you just get an understanding. You're not looking for an argument. You just want to know what's going on so you can continue on in a constructive manner. That's number 2. What does their religion require them to do in those areas of activity? And then the last but most important of those 3 questions, this is the most important. Sir, ma'am, what does your religion require you to do when you interact with me? And be very patient and have plenty of time, because that might take up 2 or 3 days, or it might take up 30 minutes. You don't know. And don't break into it. When you ask these questions, don't start talking about what you think and what you have heard. Just make sure that you know the source of this information that you are getting, so that you can point to that person and say, this person told me that this was his or her religion, and told me that this person told me their religion, not mine, their religion required them to interact with me by doing this and not doing that, and, because I may not be a part of their religion. I may even discover that, hey, these are the things that I do too. Mm-hmm. All right? And so it sounds like your religion is the same as mine. But that's usually not the case. That's why they have different names. Religions have different names. Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Islam. And these differences between these religions, not just the names, get into a whole lot of volatility that is completely unnecessary. I mean, of course, people get hurt. I went the long way around, but it's necessary in discussing this. But this is very important. And I hope the whole world hears this. Don't do but 3 things if it's associated with a religion, please. Because it always works. And there's no controversy. Because you can always point to the person and say, I got it from this person, and this is this person who knows more about their religion than I do. That's why I'm asking these questions. And so anything that comes up, I'm going to say, I'm not saying nothing about anybody else's religion. See, I have a religion, Neely. But when I talk to other people about whatever their religion is, I don't make any statements at all about their religion. It always works. Don't make any statements. Ask questions. And if anybody asks you about somebody else's religion, you go get that somebody else to answer those questions. that you talked to that told you about what their religion requires them to do when they interact with you. Because you may not have the same religion that that person has, and that usually means conflict. You want to eliminate that conflict by saying, I got this from him. This is his religion, and he told me that anytime he encounters somebody like you, he's supposed to do this and this and this and this. Because that's what he told me. And your religion is the same as mine. All right? So this person told me that their religion requires me to not ask them a whole lot of questions about their religion. And then the discussion was over. See, this is clarity. When you have clarity, you can solve problems. Now, if you don't believe it, you try this. Every black person, every non-white person on the planet should try this. Then we won't be in that situation. We're victims of white supremacy when the subject of religion comes up. And the only religion that a black person should be against is the religion of white supremacy, because that's the religion that dominates black people. And you can openly say to the whole world, I am doing my best to get rid of the religion of white supremacy in everything that I say and do. So, and I'm not making any excuses for it or anything. Hey, I'm telling you this is what I'm doing. This is what I was born to do, because it's an evil religion that's designed to harm people of color. And I am a person of color. But now other people, other religions, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, I ask people questions. I don't make statements. Because everybody got their own idea about what their religion requires them to do. And when they see me coming, a victim of white supremacy, which is all that I am, a victim of a religion that shouldn't exist. And I say to the world, I've had experiences with that religion called white supremacy. See, I've had experiences with that religion, and I know that it's evil. So when I say the religion of white supremacy is evil, I mean exactly what I say, because it's designed to harm me because of the color of my skin. And I'll stand on the highest mountain and shout against it. In fact, I'm doing it now, here on the radio, a worldwide hookup. If anybody wants to know what religion I'm against, that's the religion I'm out and out against. All other religions, I just have questions, and I want the answers to the question. Now, this is absolutely important for everybody to remember. From nobody but a person who is familiar with their religion, because it's their religion. You don't want a Christian. I'm not going to ask a Christian about Judaism. Not at all. No. I'm going to find a person who practices the religion of Judaism and say, first of all, and I have done it, it always works, I say, are you a Jew? And then my next question might be, that's the name of your religion? And then I ask the three questions about their religion. What does your religion require you to do when you interact with me? That's the last one. And that's all I want to know. I don't need to know nothing else. Think about it, folks. That's all you really need to know. But if these questions aren't asked, you're going to get confusion. If I'm talking to a Christian, what does Christianity require you to do, sir, when you interact with me? Since you say that's your religion. That's the main thing I want to know. I want to know the two other things, the name of the religion, and I want to know what does their religion require them to do in general with all people. But the main thing I want to know is what to expect when I see you coming. Because your religion might require you to chop off my head. I want to know that. When I see you coming blocks away, I'll run or whatever. But you have let me know what your religion requires you to do when it interacts with me, that person who has the religion. Now, I went back and forth over the same thing, but I hope that answers the question, because it's not just the person who's calling. I'm talking to everybody who is running into any kind of religious problem. And it seems like Mr. Ye has run into one. But the first thing you get straight is this a religious matter, all right? And then you want to know what the religion of everybody involved requires them to do. Because at the beginning of every day, you just want to know what people are going to do. And you want to know this in advance. So it's no what? Confusion. Because when you got confusion, somebody's going to get hurt.
Okay. You're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And you are listening to it on blogtalkradio.com, but you can also pick up the show on producejustice.com, where you can also get all the books and all the publications, past shows, and any information that you will need or want concerning how to produce justice. Just go to producejustice.com. Now, hopefully, if you would like to be a participant of today's show, just call this number, 516-453-9921. Press the number 1 button. Again, you will get in line to be able to ask your question or to give a VGQ. You can do that. You can also send me a Gmail, just the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. And I will get that and read it when the time permits for me to read it. Most likely it will not be today, but on a show in the future it will be read, and I will let you know. You can also join the chat room with the chatters. Just go to blogtalkradio.com and click on programs, and then the Produce Justice Show will come up. Click on that, and then the chat room is available for you. And I'm going to tell you right now, they are smoking in that chat room right now. They are smoking. Just go to blogtalkradio.com, and like I said, click on programs. The Produce Justice Show will come up, and then once that is in there, then you'll see that little box with the chat room. Get in there. Get up all the way in there, and some good information in that chat room. All righty. Let's go to Ray, Dallas. Okay, Ray, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please, sir. So I get you in
Good
there.
morning, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning. I have 2 brief questions. Mr.
It's going to be one today, Ray.
Okay. Mr. Fuller, was Jesus Christ a victim of racism and white supremacy?
Do I what?
Was Jesus Christ a victim of white supremacy?
Oh, I don't know, because I don't, I've never heard any. See, I wasn't here when Jesus was here, so I just go by what I hear, and I hear all sorts of things. I hear that, Jesus was black. I don't know. So, the straight up honest answer is that I don't know. I'd have to ask somebody who does know. And you're asking me because I guess you thought that I knew, but I do not know. I don't know how far white supremacy goes back. I don't know that. Some people say it goes back as much as 6,000 years. And other people say, no, 2,000 is about right. And other people say it's about 600 that white supremacy has been alive and running. So I say, even an answer to that question, I don't know. You know, I've heard, like I said, Jesus was black. If Jesus was black and white supremacy 2,000 years ago was here on the planet, it's logical that Jesus would be a victim of white supremacy. Why? Because you have white supremacy 2,000 years ago. Some people say it goes back that far. So that would include the time that Jesus was here if Jesus was black, which I don't know the answer to that either. See, because I just don't know. I know I wasn't here. I never, was in what they call the Holy Land over there that I can remember. If I was there, I don't remember it. I don't remember anything about that 2,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hey, Ray, go ahead with that second question.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Mr. Fuller, since the white supremacists do not constructively own anything in the known universe, how can they compensate the victims of white supremacy?
If they're what now?
Yes. Since the white supremacists do not constructively own anything in the known universe, how can they compensate the victims of white supremacy?
How can they compensate?
Yes,
the white supremacists do control people. They control all people of color. Otherwise, you couldn't call them white supremacists. So, in answer to the question, they own, first of all, people. That's what slave masters. White supremacy itself is a slave system. Slavery never ended. We keep saying slavery ended in 1865. Many people say that. I was saying that. Why? I've been told that. But then you ask another question. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. Is the system of white supremacy a system of slavery? The answer is yes. So slave masters own slaves. So once you own a person, you own everything that person has. For instance, if I have a person do everything I want them to do, and they can't stop me from doing it, I keep telling them, do this, dig a ditch. Now, climb that mountain. Bring me some coffee. And they have to do it. I own that person. I'm a slave owner. Because that's what, if a person doesn't want to do it, but they fear me, so they do it on account of they fear me. That's a slave. So being subject to white supremacy automatically makes you a slave. I am a slave right this minute to the system of white supremacy. Slavery didn't end because white supremacy hasn't ended. So yes, they own me. So therefore they own everything that I think I own. Because they'll tell me, oh, you own this, this is yours. But they are telling me that this is mine. That tells me something right there. Didn't I know that this is mine on my own? No, because it ain't true, for one thing. The white supremacists give me everything. If I want an education, see, let's go through the 9 areas of activity. When I say I'm looking for a job, I'm looking for some white people. Black people can't give me no job. They're looking for a job, too, from the same people I'm looking for. See, we got to tell it like it is. If you're black on this planet and you got a job, you've asked white folks for that job. You didn't just go out and just get a job. Like a job is something that comes from the moon in the middle of the night and knocks on your door.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Ray. I think he used the word compensation in that, but that's all right. Maybe we can get him back on that. This is from Stan, the man. He says this, hello and good morning, Mr. Fuller. You have said that all of us, including yourself, has been a servant to this system of white supremacy at some point in time. I understand what you mean when you say this, sir, but my question for you today is, looking back over your long life and maybe prior to your counter-racist enlightenment, what is the worst thing that you have ever done to support the system of white supremacy? For instance, have you ever violated one of or some of the 10 stops? Have you ever discouraged a young black person from entering in a white-dominated profession? Have you ever given favor to an undeserving white person over a deserving black person? Or have you ever been romantically involved with a white woman, sir? What have you done in the past that possibly keeps you up at night, Mr. Fuller?
Well, I will answer that in order to keep down controversy and conflict and to tell the truth, because everything in the code is supposed to be based on truth to start with. No falsehoods, no putting on a false face. In answer to the question according to the code, and I've answered this here on TV, on this radio program, this podcast, but I'll answer it again. Everything that Neely Fuller has ever done since he was born on planet Earth in the system of white supremacy has been a mistake. I'm going to say that again. Everything that Neely Fuller has done or hasn't done since he was born into the system of white supremacy has been and is now, right this minute, a mistake. Why? Having said that, I give the reason. I was born to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. I have not done that. We still have white supremacy. So that means that the whole time Neely Fuller has been here, and that's quite some time, according to some people, by comparison, he's made a mistake. Everything he's done is a mistake. Why? Because he hasn't accomplished what he was put here to do. And what was that? Replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. I have failed at doing that. That means everything that I have done. It's just been a huge mistake because I haven't figured out how to rid the world of the system of white supremacy and replace it with the system of justice, which is why I was born. And I have not done that.
Okay.
So we don't have to go into details of what particular Thursday I've done. Everything I've ever done was a mistake because I haven't carried out my mission. I have failed so far at my mission. I'm trying not to fail with my last breath. But failure is failure. Mm-hmm. In the business of counter-racism, no excuses. Fuller, you don't get nothing. You don't get, hey, we don't grade it. So, it's not like football. You don't get paid for yardage. You were put here to rid the world of racism. That's why you were born, Fuller. And if you die without having done that, you wasted your Creator's time.
All righty. I was from Stand the Man on the question tip. Okay, let's go to Houston. Cleo, get ready, Cleo, and see here. Okay, Cleo, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning. What is your question?
Good morning. Long live NFJ and forever live Logic. Happy belated birthday to Mr. NFJ. And always I would be remiss if I did not say thank you from the bottom of my heart, Mr. Bobby, to you, to Robin, Sharon, Moon Pie, for y'all's work with Mr. Fuller in getting this message out. So, Mr. Fuller, my question this morning is, what is your analysis of the influence of white supremacy as it relates to society's tendency to demonize and alienate black males who are perceived as masculine, while at the same time applauding and rewarding effeminate black males who publicly identify as gay or homosexual?
The white supremacists say this makes white supremacists stronger. Otherwise, we wouldn't be pushing it. I mean, they're openly doing this. They're saying this, hey, we want black people to be involved in anything, and we will reward them handsomely. That's going to make white supremacy stronger than it already is. The white supremacists tell us that right to our faces, and we don't even know that that's what they're telling us. And because they know that we don't know it, they do it. Because they say, they don't know what we're saying anyway. You know, even when you tell them what you're doing. And they're standing there watching you do it. And they are getting stronger and you're getting weaker. But they don't know the difference between strength and weakness until you just actually hit them over the head with something or chase them down the highway. I mean, they're trying to run to get away from you and you shoot them in the back. Then they understand it. That's the only time they understand anything. Because they're animals anyway. Like you said in the movie Godfather. Hey, if you just want to deal with some animals, go up in Harlem. I mean, you know, you can dump dope on them, and they don't know what it is. I mean, they'll go for anything. You know, all you got to do is just do it. They don't know the difference between something constructive, something that's non-constructive. Yeah, that's how, you know. And they have seen enough evidence that we fall right into every kind of trap that they set. That they don't even bother. They'll just tell you, now this is a trap, you black people. Now I want you to understand that. I'm trapping you. Okay? Do you understand that? And we all nod in unison. And then they'll bring the trap. And we'll walk right in it. And then they'll look at each other and say, boy, have we done a job on these creatures. We can tell them what we're doing, and then we can do it, and we can tell them it's harmful. We can tell them that this new stuff that we just mixed up in a factory, I mean, we're going to make it legal now. And we're going to put it out here in the streets and give it a fancy name. And we can tell them it's going to be harmful to them, very harmful. And they'll just stand there. Then you'll bring it to them and say, now take this. And they'll just gobble it up. Whether it's something that comes out of a factory or something that comes out of a toilet. That's the kind of creatures they are. They are made that way. That's what they say about us. Mm-hmm. And then we proceed to prove that what they say is true. But they made us that way. They have made us into monsters and monstrosities that'll go for anything that doesn't make sense. They got a name for it. And you know what that is. That one size fits all, it starts with an N.
I wasn't going to say it, but I was thinking it. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I got you, Mr. Unknown. This is a comment. I know you don't like, well, at least it appears you don't particularly like this, but a person in the chat room said this: Mr. Fuller, you have not failed in your mission. The very fact that we are here every week working on solving this racial issue. Who else is doing this on a regular basis? Plus, most people have only been aware of your book for the past decade and are just getting into it, truth be told. So let's not act as if we've been on this track since the late 1950s when you first wrote the manuscripts for this book, or even the early 1980s when you first put it into book form. Most people, Mr. Fuller, here are new to this. And there were several people in the chat room that second that emotion. So you may think that, you failed in your mission, but a lot of people, Mr. Fuller, are picking this up. I get Gmails all the time, people who want to know more. They're hungry for it. And according to Robert, with the book's sales, somebody's buying that book, and somebody is reading it. Somebody is practicing it. I know you don't want a good old boy and all that kind of stuff, but something you are saying, some people are listening to you, Mr. Fuller. Even the enemy is listening to you. So people are taking notes of that. Okay, listen, we are coming up on the close of this first hour. So, Mr. Fuller, I know we can get the books at ProduceJustice.com books, all the information. But while we have a couple of minutes here, I'm going to give these couple of minutes to you before I close out the first hour. So go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Well, I started off talking about basically my assignment, and that's on page 19 of the Word Guide. And I have a description in the Word Guide of the assignment within the context of white supremacy, the assignment that black people have. Now, I have assumed that this is my assignment, and a description of that. That's on page 19 for those who have the textbook for victims of white supremacy. Page 19 of the Word Guide. That's what I was looking at when we went on the air. And that's what I think I started off talking about. That was the assignment.
Okay.
And everything in the code now is supposed to be in the code books. You address it. I have addressed it to the individual person. Now you pick and choose what makes sense to you. This is very important. Everything that I have said, even on this program, you use it if it makes sense to you, because if it doesn't make sense to you, stay away from it until it does make sense to you, because you don't want to be handling something just because Neely Fuller said it. You don't do that with anybody. And if you're doing it, get out of that habit. I don't care who it is, because all people, in answer to one of the questions that was on the program this morning, all people make mistakes, and I'm always saying everything I do is a mistake. So you examine everything that Neely Fuller says, starting off with the presumption, this is a mistake. Fuller is giving out some stuff here that's a huge mistake. I hope nobody is following what Neely Fuller is saying, because he is making a huge mistake in just about everything that he says. Start with that premise, but then examine what I'm saying and then put it to a test to see if it works.
All right.
Because that's the only criteria.
Okay. All righty. Well, we're going to conclude with that. That's the end of the first hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller. So we thank you for listening. But if you have to go, come on back next week. Sorry you got to go, but you got to do what you got to do. But for those who are going to stick and stay, don't go away, because we got another hour that's going to commence right now. And by the way, get all the books and materials by going to ProduceJustice.com. All righty, this is the second hour. Let's blend this bad boy in. Welcome to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. Now, we would love for you to be our participant in the show, and this is how you do it. Just call this number, 516-453-9921, and if you have a question or a comment, then just press the number 1 button. You will get in line and give the call screener your name so that I can properly give you an introduction. And if you are a new caller, please tell the call screener that you are, and then they will let me know, and then we have a special program set up for you that you can be heard. So you don't have to be afraid or intimidated or scared, even though the whole world is listening to you. But you don't have to be afraid. But we'll help you out. We'll help you out. So you do that, and then that way you can be heard. And we ask that you be brief. You can also Gmail me if you don't want to use it that way by going to my Gmail address. That is the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com. I will get it. I will let you know that I got it, and I will read it at a certain time, as I've read, I think, 1 or 2 this morning. Try to blend those in. I will say this just as a word of caution. Mr. Bobby just got him a new phone, okay? And guess what? I got to play with it to find out what to do. So a little shaky right now, but give me a little bit of time, and I'll have it all worked out. But anyway, use a Gmail. Also, listen. Get into that chat room. Man, they got some chatter going on in there and some good information that you may like or you may not like, but get in there, question it, ask questions. You know, something you don't know or want to know or something to think about. Just get into the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to make sure that you click on programs, and you want to produce justice show. Okay. You do that, and then you click on that. Then the chat room becomes available to you, and you can get in there and see what I'm talking about. Yes, indeedy. You can see it, and you can join the conversation. So those are the ways to get in the show and all the information you need. And speaking about that, all the books and the books that you can go and get, you can get by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com. Do this. Let's go to Darnell. Get ready. Not the Darnell in New York. This is the Darnell in Ohio. Okay, get ready, Darnell. I'm getting ready to cue you in here. Okay, you're in. Go ahead, Darnell.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, a happy belated birthday to you, Mr. Fuller, and I just want to give you a shout out, thanking you for giving me some clarity on my life in this system of white supremacy. So without your lifelong work and research, I'd still be walking around here in a fog. So thank you for your clarity. My question is, this weekend, November 5th, there is a march on Washington for reparations. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, Mr. Fuller, but that's coming up this weekend. So my question is marching in 2022, according to the code, way to achieve results?
I don't know. I do know that the system of white supremacy is still here. So no one yet has solved what we call the race issue. Neely Fuller said he's trying, but trying, well, they used army terms, like something I was told by a sergeant when I was in the military this particular time in the Air Force. He says, Fuller, he said to me, Fuller, I don't want to know how hard you've been working, because you come in here telling me about how hard you and your crew been working. I want you to show me the result. Now get out of here and get back to producing the result. Don't come in here giving me no report ever about how hard you've been working. The hard work is nothing new. Results, that's something new. Now, it made me angry, but I've thought about it down through the years, and he was correct. So in answer to the question, does marching help to solve the problem of race? We know it when it solves the problems of race. That's the only criteria, if you want to use that criteria. Now, as a victim of racism, I cannot criticize what other people do or choose to do or wind up doing some kind of way to resist racism. That comes under something called BGQ. Anything that they say, and marching is a form of speech. So people can try anything, and they can try it, and it so-called fails, and try it again, because I've seen evidence that people have tried things, solve problems. They try one thing, and they try the same thing again, then the same thing again. And then oddly enough, sometimes doing the same thing, even though they say when you do the same thing and you keep failing, you need to try something else. But sometimes you can do the same thing and the same thing and the same thing, because conditions sometimes change too. And it will work that fourth time when it didn't work the first three times. I think everybody's witnessed something like that happen on account of the circumstances have changed. The first time that they tried it, the circumstances were different, and it didn't work that first time. But they came along 5 years later and tried the same thing. The circumstances had changed, and it worked the fourth time when everybody said, you tried that before, man, and it didn't work. Then you tried it twice. You tried it 3 times. They say 3 times is a charm. It didn't work none of them 3 times, man. But the guy went back and said, I'm going to try it 1 more time, maybe 5 more times, because I think it would eventually work. And sure enough, it does. See, this world is very peculiar. You know, I think it's a Bible saying. Somebody told me they saw it somewhere in the Bible that you only know in part, and that things happen that never happened before. Now, we do know that. We have experienced that. I mean, I've ridden a wagon before. I mean, what would you call a wagon? I rode on it before I ever rode a bicycle or a car. I didn't have a bicycle. Bicycles were rare when I was born. And the time I was coming up to be bicycle riding age, I didn't have a bicycle. That's something I dreamed about having. Now bicycles all over the place. See, things change. Your environment changes. So something that works one time and may not work the next time you try it, on account of the circumstances have changed. So in answer to the question, just go the way that you think is the correct way to go. That's the compensatory, codified way. That's a part of the code.
Okay.
In other words, whatever you think will work and produce a constructive result, go with it. Because there will always be somebody saying, that ain't going to work. I mean, you'll hear that all your forever. That ain't going to work. That's the person sitting on the side of the road who ain't doing nothing.
Ain't doing nothing.
But they'll always tell you that ain't going to work.
All right. Thank you, Darnell from Ohio. I hope that wasn't a covered wagon, Mr. Fuller, that you were introduced to. Hey, listen, speaking about that, this question comes up quite quite a bit, or well, not quite a bit, but a few times. Some people don't understand how could you be in the Army or Air Force at the same time when usually it's just one. You're in one branch of the military. What happened on that deal?
I was in two branches of the military. Very simple. Yes. I was in the Army. I got drafted in the Army and sent right to the front lines in 1951. Did 3 months basic training, Camp Chaffee, Arkansas. Sent to Camp Drake in Japan and sent directly to Korea. And once I hit Korea, they let us know, you guys are replacements, which means you replace people who are now dead. So we need a stopgap, and you're it. There's nothing lower than a replacement. And from the looks of this bunch, you guys are going to need replacements real fast yourself. Because you're going right to the front lines, which is exactly where we went. And I was there 10 months. The whole time I was in Korea, I was on the front lines.
Front lines,
right, in the field artillery. But finally I got out of there without getting killed and without freezing to death, which is what I thought was really going to happen in the winter. Korean winters are brutal. You know, you catch that wind right off out of Siberia, and we didn't have winter clothes. Okay. But later on account of desperation, I joined the Air Force, stayed in there 4 years. So that's the explanation.
Oh, okay.
And when I was in the Air Force is when I started writing. You know, I was in an isolated place. I think that's why a lot of books are written in prison. Because sometimes when you're in an isolated place, you have time to think. And with black people, for the first time in your existence, sometimes a lot of black people are in jail. That's the only time they've ever had to think. All the rest of the time, they're just desperate trying to get some food on the table, or trying to catch a bus and trying to get to that job they're about to lose on account of they have to be so far away from it on account of redlining and all that. And I have no transportation.
Okay.
See, so
that's
the explanation. To give the short answer.
Okay.
Desperation, like most black people, most of the things we're into. I didn't want to go to the Air Force. I hated the military. But, hey, this is the only thing available to me at the moment, and it's desperate.
Okay.
So I went back into the military. But I went into the Air Force and not the Army because I figured the Air Force would put me not on no front line. And at that time, it wound up just like I thought, just like I wanted it to happen. I wound up in a warehouse, like I had a civilian job. All right.
Okay. All righty. What is that they say in the chat room? No conflict, no contact. And
no contact, no conflict.
All right. I say that because I just found out that I didn't know this person, but Takeoff, I guess it was a rapper, was killed last night in Houston, Texas. I think he was involved in a crap game. I don't know all details. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, see, we got a new caller, and we've got quite a few callers on here. Okay, new caller alert. It says Bina from Minnesota. Let me see if I can get you in here, Bina. Try to get you in here. Let's see, Bina, new caller. Okay, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning. What is your question?
Good morning, Mr. Fuller, and good morning, Bobby, and the rest of the audience. The one who comes in peace is always welcome. Positive energy and creation energy to all of you. My name is Bina, and I'm here to produce justice, as the show says. And the justice that I'm here to produce is not the one that is expected by many people, because justice is not a universal thing. Justice is relative. The justice for a black person is not the justice that a European person needs. The truth that is for the black person or black people globally is not the truth that is for the European. Those truth is relative. We have nature's truth, which is universal, but when it comes to the experiences of the people who are looking for truth are the black people globally. The people who are looking for justice, they are the black people globally. We cannot mix the two, because in this world, there's two paradigms running together. There is the paradigm of the black people globally, and there is the paradigm of Eurasian families. These two paradigms are completely different, completely opposite. So if we are going to look for justice, we must focus on the people, the people's paradigm. Currently, the black people, they don't have the mandate. No matter what we do, whether we be praying in churches, whether we be marching, whether we be whatever we're going to be, look for economical stabilities, if we don't have the mandate, if we don't have, we don't understand our purpose and destiny, if we don't know ourselves, if we don't know our environment, and if we don't know who is our enemy, we will be, it's more like we'll be biting the stone. So I would like to have a conversation with Mr. Neil Fuller on what he spoke in his book, and his desire to have somebody like who can come and solve the racism problem. Yeah, that dream is right here and right now, and our people need to know about it so that they can put it into practice. You know, this world has to change, and we can't expect other people to change us or to transform us. The universe is expecting black people globally to transform. The universe is putting demands. Other people are putting demands that we got to change. So we are now going to use the collective, the universalism to win. No, we are going to go straight to the point, have a dialogue with our people, and let them know themselves, and we get plugged to the source of all things. We get plugged to what is absolute to us. We get plugged to our bone, blood, and skin, and then we stand and challenge the other paradigm. But we have all the powers that we need as a people. We are not a helpless people as we think. So this is the time that our people need to understand who they are. And once they understand who they are, this racism thing is gonna get into the to the side. Mm-hmm. It has been tested. It has mm-hmm. been tested, and it's working right here. Thank you.
Okay. Let me ask you a question, being that since you didn't have a question in there. Do you have you gotten your copy of Mr. Fuller's books at ProduceJustice.com?
Yes, and I got to get that copy after I read.
Good, because everything that you said or was mentioning can be found in that book by going to ProduceJustice.com and reading that book and then sharing it. Thank you for your call. We appreciate it. And as we tell all new callers, don't be a stranger. ProduceJustice.com. Thank you. All righty. Let me see here. I was looking for Jamar. If I can get you in here, Jamar. Let's see here. There we go. Now let me get this right and get this right and that right. It's not you, it's me. Okay, Jamar. Get ready, Jamar, in Jersey City. Jamar, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Greetings, Mr. Fuller. Greetings, Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My question is, if the word justice doesn't have a legal definition and justice has never been produced, the question is, how do we know what justice looks like if we never seen it produced?
We'll know it when it's been produced. That's how you really know. You can have an image in your mind of a vehicle. You might say a car. And sometimes somebody had an image in that person's mind of what a transportation device or vehicle or carriage would look like. called a carriage or a car, a mode of transportation that's different. They had an image of it in their mind. They weren't looking at it because it didn't exist. But everything starts in the mind, and the mind can have, just like a car or a pair of pliers or a building, a house, you can have an image of what justice looks like. Now, according to the code, what it would look like is two things. Is anybody being mistreated? Because you don't have it if anybody is being mistreated. And the other thing is, number two, the person who needs help the most, is that person getting it in any one or more of the areas of activity, the 9 areas: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Any person who needs help and not getting it in any one or more of those areas of activity, is that person getting that help? Because justice is a combination of guaranteeing that no person is mistreated in any circumstance and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most is getting the most constructive help that they need. Right then and there. And if the answer is no, that's where the work needs to be done. Because nobody's supposed to be mistreated. You cannot have a situation of justice when anybody's being mistreated. And you can now have a situation of justice if the person that needs help the most is not getting that help. Now, we have an image of what, we have a little token image of how that would work. For instance, and I've said this here on this program, needing help the most. Every day when you hear those sirens, what do those sirens? Those sirens are sending a message. There's somebody who needs help the most. They need more help. Everybody needs help now doing something. You just need help, somebody helping you to lift those packages up and take them up the stairs. All right? That's one person that needs help. But then you hear a siren a block away. Now, what that siren is telling people, there's somebody else who needs help the most. Yeah, I need help getting these packages up these steps. These packages are heavy. Hey, fella, mister, can you come over here? If you don't mind, just help me lift this end up. I can carry it the rest of the way. I need help. And the person says, oh, sure. Okay. Now, that's one form of help. But I hear the siren a block away, I might even drop the package. Because they say, hey, your cousin just got hit by a car. And I know my cousin just went down the street. So I dropped the package. Why? Because I want to help somebody that needs help the most. That package can wait. All right? So it's heavy, but that ain't the priority now. Now, the person needing help the most gets the most help. Now, we understand that when it comes to this illustration I just gave. But why not have that on the world scale in everything? Everybody is dedicated when they wake up in the morning, when they go to bed at night. Oh, there's somebody that needs help the most, and I am in pretty good shape today, and I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm going to try to find out who that somebody is and give them the help. And it won't be long before you run into somebody that needs help the most. And you do that. And you also are in a situation where you do your best by using a codified procedure now so that you don't make a terrible situation worse, that a person is being mistreated. So you're supposed to do what you can do to keep anybody from being mistreated on the job, anything like that. In fact, you might start off, if you're a so-called supervisor, on your job, for instance, asking those two questions, because all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. And the code says this. You walk into a room, you got 27 people there. You say, now, the first thing I want to know is anybody being mistreated? Now, a whole bunch of hands might go up at once. But then you start with the person being mistreated the most. You got to start somewhere. Now, if you can help them all at one time, do that, because you're able to do that. Straighten out the mistreatment right away, all 27. But then there's some person who is really being mistreated the most. That's who you start with.
Okay.
Out of the 27. And if anybody needs help, they say, no, nobody's being mistreated. But Willie Mae Jackson back there, she does need more help than anybody out of these 27. Her circumstances are really, they're off the hook, being terrible. So then everybody, all 26 people, say, we'll work on Miss Willie Mae Jackson's problems. Why? Because her circumstances are worse than anybody's in here. All right?
Uh-huh.
A very simple formula that you can use worldwide right this minute. See, we don't have to wait no long time and have a bunch of ceremonies and go to a whole lot of meetings. This is something you can do right now. See, codification is about what you do right now, because improving things, you start with the minute that you got. And what's the minute that you got? The minute that you got right now.
Oh, good that you said that. Because right now, let's segue into a break. You're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, and we thank you for your listening, Chip. If you'd like to get in contact with the show, do so. This number, 516-453-9921. Make sure that if you have a question, just hit that number 1 button, press it, and the call screener will come on and give your name, please, so that I can properly give you an introduction to it. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com, and hopefully I'll get a chance to read it at some point in time. You can also go to the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com. You want to click on where it says shows, and then the Produced Justice Show will come up, or programs. The Produced Justice Show will come up, and then when you click that, the chat room becomes available for you. Click that, and you're in. And one more thing. If you are a new caller, make sure you tell the call screener that you are a new caller, and we have something very special set up for you. Okay. I thought we had Darnell up here, but get Darnell from. Hey, Darnell, you call back and I'll get you in here. Just call back. In the meantime and in between time. By the way, Mike, they say you have Tesla down here, but maybe it's Tulsa. Maybe you can get correct on that when I get to you. Anyway, Dre, gotcha. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir.
I was watching the news, and I seen another rapper fatally shot. And rapper or not, you just see the same things repeated every day. People killing each other for the same things daily, and they can't seem to notice the pattern. So, Mr. Fuller, could you explain again how the white supremacists foster and glamorize dysfunction, and why it is extremely important that we have no contact with each other so there's no conflict?
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Well, according to the code, we can have contact with each other, but prior to that, this is the codified procedure. You make sure that the contact that you're going to have in any circumstance that you have some control over with another non-white person, particularly, or white person for that matter, it's called no contact, no conflict. You minimize conflict by minimizing contact. Just, the less contact you have with a person, the less conflict you're apt to have. We kind of know that instinctively. So what you do is minimize all unnecessary contact with anybody, white or non-white. You minimize it. You got to have contact with people. I mean, when you go to the grocery store, when you get on the bus, you got contact with the bus driver. I mean, you might ask the bus driver, am I on the correct bus? See, that's a contact. The bus driver might curse you out. All right? Oh, it's just dumb self. Don't you know where you're going? You know. So, but if you don't have contact, if the bus driver doesn't say anything, you don't say anything, because you know where you're going, all like that, that's less contact, so it's not going to be any conflict, okay? So that principle holds true. Somebody said something about some rapper got killed because he was in a dice game. Now, you don't want to be in an environment where what we might call, quote, unquote, bad things are likely to happen. See, that's the first thing you don't want. Get away from any situation that looks like something may happen that should not happen. That's a part of the code. Anywhere in the world you are, once you sense, is this an environment that is constructive? And if it looks like nothing but the potential for something ugly to happen, or a few wonderful things can happen, but those 5 wonderful things that can happen are outweighed by the 40 things that can happen that are not going to be what? Constructive. Remember those 2 words, constructive, non-constructive. Every situation has possibly some features that can be constructive, and it has features that can be non-constructive. Always try to be in every situation that you're in. The most constructive things are apt to happen. Seek out those type of situations and stay away from all people. See, the person who's always, wants you to get in the car, and the car is full of guys that got guns, and we're going and take care of some business. Now, that is a situation that's not likely to end well. So you don't get in that car, period.
Okay.
All right? I mean, that's just in-your-face illustration. They say, well, hey, man, I mean, we just, it ain't gonna be nothing. We carry guns all the time. But we're going over here and just as, we're going to meet up with these guys, and we're going to transact a little business. And so we don't want you to do nothing. We just want you to be there. Then let these people know that, that we know some people, and you can be one of them. The more of us, the better. I mean, they'll be impressed by that. In other words, you just want me to get in the car and then fill in and back up by my presence, whatever y'all fixing to do. But y'all are carrying guns. Say, yeah, of course, something may go down. I mean, it ain't likely to happen, man. I mean, we wouldn't be getting you involved. Hey, back off. Say, look, I'll talk to all of y'all later after y'all tell me all about this wonderful adventure you're going on. You can tell me all about it. I mean, next week. Until then, I'll just listen for the news.
Okay.
And walk off. Don't get in that car. All right? That's just an illustration.
That's just an illustration. Okay. All righty. Now I'm going to mispronounce this name, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to cue you in here. It's either Isa or Isa. Now, from Pittsburgh. Help me out here. How do you pronounce that name?
It's Isa.
Okay, Isa. Okay. See, Go ahead, Isa. You're on with Mr. Fuller.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because I'm Muslim, I just wanted to make a statement. I guess, racism, in Islam, Satan was, the first racist. So, it's a legitimate fight, and, I can appreciate where Mr. Fuller is coming from. But I just wanted to ask one question, and it's, what is the code on having pets?
What does the code say on having what?
Pets, like dogs, cats, stuff like that.
Oh, having pets.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't say anything about that.
Okay,
I mean, some people who are blind need a seeing-eye dog. It depends on whether the dog is serving a constructive purpose, that you need that dog with you and be able to say what purpose the dog serves. See, that's all. See, everything is about questions and answers. And questions and answers will always, I want everybody to hear this for the umpteenth time, because I'm going to keep repeating it. This is the essence of everything that I say on every program and for the books that I write. Everything, all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. And questions and answers are supposed to lead all people to do things that have a constructive result. But how do you get there? Questions and answers. That's the process. You always get the answers to the questions, and you will know whether you will get constructive results by whatever those answers are. And the question now is, what is the value, if any, of having ownership, quote, unquote, of a dog? It depends on what the result of having a dog is and what result you're trying to achieve. So you ask questions. Why do you want a dog? And once you ask a person, and this is part of the code, a very important point. When you ask a question, don't interfere with the answer. You're asking the other person for the answer. You already have your answer. So you don't let your answer get in that mix, because now you're going to have what? You're going to have confusion. Questions are designed to eliminate confusion. So you don't want to add to confusion even when you're asking a question. People have a tendency to do that.
Okay.
They'll say, I'm going to ask you this question, but I've already made up my mind what the answer is. I just want to see what you got to say so I can argue. That should never be the point of communication.
Never. Exactly.
Never.
Okay. All right. I said thank you very much. I hadn't seen you before, but if you're a new caller, don't be a stranger. Thank you. Okay, Mike, I'm going to come to you, but they have Tesla beside your name here. I don't know if it's Tulsa or not. Help a brother out. Go ahead, Mike. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Can you hear me, Mr. Bobby?
Yeah, go ahead, bro. You there?
Okay. I'm in Tulsa, not in a Tesla.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. And so I just wanted to call in with a VGQ. I don't get to call in when the show is live very often. But in any case, we're all still learning. And Mr. Fuller starts the show every week with, if you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you do understand will only confuse you. And that has been, I think, one of the most transformative statements since I've understood it. And really thank Mr. Fuller for offering that clarity, because I don't want to be confused. But sometimes I listen and I would like to think, very good at listening. And it seems that there are some people who are committed to being confused. And I just want to add, there were some comments, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or so, I think, that were relative to participating in the system of white supremacy. And I just wanted to add, I think, which is what Mr. Fuller has been saying, is that as long as there is a system of white supremacy, by default, we participate in it. And I would also like to add that on the cover of the book, which I have in front of me, at the very bottom in small type, Mr. Fuller says this every week too, but I just want to point this out because I think it's also critical to understand. It has a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. And the key word that I want to point out here is the concept of the workbook. And that means that it's more than just understanding a concept, but it's a practice. And there was a few comments back that was talking about we've only known about this concept basically for, some decades. But the question is not necessarily about knowing the concepts, but what are we doing to practice what the concepts are putting forward? And I think that is also very critical in terms of being able to produce justice. And there was one last thing I'd like to add that I've heard Mr. Fuller say. I'm not sure, I haven't run across it in the book, but I've heard him say it on the show, and it really stuck out in my mind. And it was the directive, I guess is how I put it, to codify yourself. And that's always stuck in my mind, because when you assimilate that statement, the whole code becomes something different. And I think this is what he's been trying to, I don't want to speak for Mr. Fuller, but from what I've heard, this is what he's been trying to get us to do, is to codify ourselves. And that does take work, it's effort. It's more than just understanding, but it's actually putting those things into practice. And it's not that they'll be perfect. We'll make mistakes along the way, as he always says as well. We're still learning, but practice makes perfect, right? Not understanding. But thank you so much, Mr. Bobby.
All right, Mike. Action speaks louder than words all the time, every time. Thank you, Mike. Okay, let's go down to South Carolina. Yeah, buddy. Yo, Jeter. Man, you on with Mr. Fuller. Do your thing.
Great rising, Mr. Bobby. Great rising, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
And a system that's with deceit still exists, how can we produce constructive results for everybody still going on?
The question is what now?
How do we produce justice for everybody when deceit is still the reason we're here? If we produce justice for everybody, deceit is still lurking because we're in an illusion of inclusion, a system in an illusion of inclusion.
A deceitful situation.
Yeah, we have a deceitful situation. And what's the question?
If we're helping everybody produce constructive results in a system that's an illusion of inclusion, but we're setting ourselves up for another downfall.
Well, if I understand the question, I'm just going to say what we do. I'll just go straight to the doing part. What we do is eliminate everything that we can think of that we say and do that doesn't produce a constructive result. We just concentrate on what we need to be doing.
Yes.
Just look at whatever we're doing. When we're having a conversation, you say, is this conversation going to lead to a constructive result or a non-constructive result? Every move that a creature makes, not only people but animals, is either going to produce a constructive result or a non-constructive result. So as creatures called people, every move that we make, everything that we say and do, thought, speech, action, everything we think about, is it producing a constructive result, or is it producing a non-constructive result? Because that's the only thing you're interested in, is to produce a constructive result in everything that you think about. That includes all your plans and all like that. Everything that you say to someone, and everything that you do, action, regarding anything that you do. Ask yourself all day long, is this thing that I'm doing, or is this thing that I'm fixing to do, that I'm going to do, day after tomorrow, is it going to have a constructive result or a non-constructive result? Because I'm not supposed to be involved in anything, ever, that's going to produce a non-constructive result. Just keep that in mind. And you can ask other people those two questions, and you don't interfere with the answer. A person is making a proposal to you, and you listen carefully to everything the person is saying. Then when they finish, you have a question. This thing that you want me to be involved in, is it going to produce a constructive result? Yes or no? And then after that question is answered, if the person says, well, yeah, that's why I'm telling you about it, it's going to be constructive. And if you still have questions about it, just ask those questions. That's the codified procedure. Say, how is it going to be constructive? And so you might ask, well, how many questions do you ask after you get answers to those questions? What it is you're going to do, that it is going to be constructive. Then they told you how it's going to be constructive. Do you have any more questions? Yeah. Yes, if you have any more questions. It all takes care of itself. Why? Because a fundamental, universal procedure in codification is questions and answers will lead to solutions to problems. All righty. That's the only way to have a solution to any problem is through the process of questions and answers.
Yes,
How
sir.
many questions and answers? As many as it takes to answer all questions that need to be answered. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Yojita. Appreciate it from South Carolina. Robert, contact me. Darnell, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question? Hang on, RT.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fuller, what can words be used, like according to the code, to counter racism? How can words be better used?
How can you use the code to solve problems? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You use the code to solve problems. That's the answer. If you got a problem, you look in the code book. In fact, what book is a code book? Any book that will help you solve a problem. If you got a problem with your car, the code for solving a problem with your car is using what they call the owner's manual. Your owner's manual is a code.
It sure is.
You look in it and you say, now, does this car, you might start off with them giving a picture of your car. That might be right at the beginning of the book. And it shows a picture of the things in your car that make your car run, that help to make it run, by showing you illustrations of the car with the hood up, say, for example. And then it'll have an arrow pointing to a thing called a carburetor. Then it might have some information down there about what a carburetor does. All right? Or it might be an air cleaner, and it'll show you a picture of what an air cleaner looks like. They say, okay, you might have a clogged filter, and that filter is inside of that round thing you see up there called an air cleaner. See if it's got a whole lot of dirt in it. It's all clogged up. Dust, sand. By turning the screw on top of it. Okay? So you do that.
Yes, sir.
Step by step. They might even have the steps that you take so that you don't get confused. They'll say step 1, step 2, step 3. In answer to your question, that's how anything gets done. It has a procedure. But you first got to have it in mind what it is you're trying to do. If you don't have that in mind, you got confusion from start to finish.
From start, yeah.
Because somebody will ask you, well, what are you doing with the hood up? And you say, I don't know. In other words, say, well, you going to drive the car with the hood up? See, they're asking questions now. They say, well, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, no, before you drive this car, this brand new car with the hood up, maybe you need to think about it a while.
Exactly.
Why you got that hood up, and you fixing to get in the car and drive. All right? That doesn't sound like anything that's going to work out too well.
Good point, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, Darnell, for your call. I'm laughing, Mr. Fuller, because I had to get the owner's manual out last night to look up how to link up my phone since everything is computer, but it's a code book, as you said.
Yes, it's a
good
code
example.
for everything.
Yeah, good example. Corey, I'm going to come to you, but RT, I lobbied for you, brother. You got to call me back, man. Okay. Well, wait a minute. No, Corey is going to be the last call. Sorry about that, RT. I was pulling for you. Okay, Corey, they got you pencil in as the last call. Do your thing.
Greetings, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fuller, I've been experiencing when I try to provide suggestions and solutions in an attempt to solve problems, specifically amongst white people. Can you explain how, as black people, we must be the illegitimate children of the white supremacists, because anything that I have to say that would be constructive or helpful is disregarded, and I'm actually met with anger and resentment.
Well, the code says, you can't tell what people are thinking, but you might guess correctly. And so if people get angry with you about anything, remember the codified procedure. All problems are solved through the process of what?
Questions and answers.
So all you do, if the person shows any anger about anything that you're saying, you'll ask the obvious question. Sir, is there anything that I am saying that is making you anger, that angers you? Is there anything that I am saying to you that should not be said? You can put it that way. Is there anything that I'm saying to you that you think should not be said to you? And wait on the answer before you move. Never go to the second question until the first question has been answered thoroughly. And then you move to the second question, if you have a second question. But when you see a person getting angry with you, first thing you want to know in a codified logical procedure, because everything in the code is supposed to be logical, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay? It ain't code, really. If it doesn't work, it ain't code. So code means every time you do it, it works.
Yes.
Okay? So the procedure is, are you angry? The person may not be angry. The person just might have an expression on their face that make it look like to you that they're angry. The person might tell you, no, I'm not angry, but you got to ask them, sir, are you angry at something that I'm saying? And then the next question after he answers, if he says yes, then you say, well, what is it that I am saying that is making you angry? Because that's not my intention. My intention is to be constructive, helpfully constructive. That's my intention. So you can add that on. You don't necessarily have to, but you can add that on. What your intentions are, and that clears the deck right now for the next questions if they have any. Okay.
Yes.
All right. But that's the procedure. Always ask questions so that everybody will be on the same page, whether that person is white or non-white. You don't want to add to what? Confusion.
Confusion.
See, once you got confusion, it's all downhill. I don't care what you do.
It's all over. Game over.
And what eliminates confusion? Questions and answers.
Questions and answers.
Questions and answers will always take, and this is code, rock solid code. Questions and answers will always, not sometimes, always take everybody right where they should be. It won't take everybody where they want to be, but it'll take everybody right where everybody should be. That's a guarantee.
All righty. Well, thank you. Thank you for the call. Well, we've come to just about the close of the hour, so we just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. ProduceJustice.com is where you go to get the books and all that. Bina in Minnesota, come on, read that book and spread that word out. Mr. Fuller, we got about a minute to go. The last words are going to come from you. Do your thing, Mr. Fuller.
I'm gonna try to do the punchline of the assignment. I started off talking about the assignment, what our assignment should be, and what I conceive it to be, what is, solve the race problem, all right? And solve the race problem in order to do what? What do you have? Constructive, non-constructive, so that you can have a world in which everything that everybody does is constructive, not non-constructive or not destructive, which the white supremacists love. Even when they're doing something constructive, is so they can do something destructive better than they did before. That's the way the white supremacists think.
Okay.
So we're supposed to be trying to make the whole world a constructive place, that everybody does something that's constructive and everybody enjoys doing things that are constructive.
That's a good word. That's a good word to leave it on, Mr. Fuller. Thank you so much, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, callers, Gmailers, and everybody else, chatters. Thank you. We made a few mistakes today, as usual, but we'll try to get better as we are still learning. So I hope you have a good week. Again, thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, callers. And we'll say bye for now. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Thanks, everybody, for listening and participating.